Welcome to Advice from the Deal Room. I'm Ben Record.
Matt Russell.
James Nolan.
And we got our special guest, James Nolan, on today.
So Matt, tell our podcast listeners a little bit more about why are we having James on here today?
And so we brought on James and his services a little over 2 months ago, actually 2.5 months ago, to help us do some marketing, and he's done a little bit more than that. Let's say that James came on site here in I think it was 2 months ago today. James was on site roughly. And so James, just marketing, but also provides more value add than just marketing and help us push our message out there. So I'll give it away to James.
If I'm going to go out and I'm going to spend someone's money, like I'm going to spend AAI's money in the marketplace, we're going to put money behind advertisements, then I want to do so with the highest probability of success. And there are certain actions we can take along the way to give ourselves higher probabilities of success. And one of those is to document exactly who you are. And that's where things get fun, because in doing that, we're looking at how you do things, how you make a difference in the marketplace, what you do for your clients, what your client's perception of you is, distinct from your own perception, what the entire market you operate in is doing, adjacent to the work that you're doing and how they're talking about themselves, and then putting all of that together into a messaging strategy that helps you distinguish yourselves immediately in the marketplace. This is where, I'm not sure if it was caught on tape, but Matt mentioned something called the iceberg thesis, which is the thesis that we brought to the table in Yakima when I came down to talk to you guys. It was the thesis that we were trying to falsify in real life, because if my hunch, which was that there's a lot of deep stuff going on here that's not documented, that's not talked about, that the clients don't even know about, right? If that stuff is not actually there, if that stuff is not actually real, then we have a problem. We don't have a substantive company, and we can't go out and make claims about our process, about our thoroughness, about our concierge approach, and have those claims be demonstrably true. We just can't do that, right? So for me, I'm pleasantly surprised when I see that, hey, there's a lot more than meets the eye, right? It makes what I do not only more fun, but more interesting, because I get to see the looks on your faces when you guys start to realize, wait a minute, holy shit, we're actually like baller when it comes to how we do this work. And we never have once said that nobody else does work like AAI. What we have said, and what we're going to say in the marketplace implicitly, is that nobody talks about the work they do in the way that AAI will talk about it, because the same ignorance that I have about what actually goes on between application to funding, where that entire iceberg lives, is the very same perception that any market is going to have toward this, unless they are extremely sophisticated. Point in case are the interviews we actually did with your clients in person. It goes down to something as simple as someone using the word operator, not to refer to someone who runs a business, but to refer to someone running a piece of equipment on a job site. That difference between the way that you guys perceive your business and the way that the public perceives the business is where all of our work exists, because we need to create the bridge between them and between you.
So to backtrack you a little bit, what was your first thoughts about AI when you first came out to little old Yakima?
I mean, the office was beautiful, I have to say. Very
yeah.
Huge fan.
We do well here at the office. Yeah.
Huge fan of the office. I mean, prior to arriving, right? You got to remember, prior to arriving, we had consumed, I think, 117 documents pertaining to checklists and some loose leaf company mottos and some adjacent sites and podcasts and all these sorts of things, right? Like this, and preliminary ingestion takes place, right? And so I show up on site. This is a bit of a trade secret. I show up on site pretending to be completely ignorant, when in reality, I have defined hypotheses that we're testing in real time. So the question that I come in with in my mind is what I'm going to encounter over the next 2 days what I think I'm going to encounter based on the preliminary research, right? So we're able to ask better questions. We're able to dig into some of the areas that I've already perceived to be the most commercially viable areas, right? We spend a lot of time talking about the hidden risks along the lender's path. This idea of risk revelation, right? That at any point in time, a landmine can be stepped on and the whole thing unravels. When you're dealing with sums in excess of $500,000 or more and potentially deadlines, when a property is on a deadline or a development is on a deadline, and these sorts of things require funding, the mere existence, the possible existence of such a landmine is a terrifying reality. Oh my God, you're telling me that we could do all of this work, Matt, and at the end of it, the lender could just be like, nah. Right? I mean, that's a crazy reality, right? And so when people are in the market and they're thinking, okay, I'm going to go get some funding, and their natural instinct is maybe to go to their bank or whatever the case may be, or consider some other broker who, as we've learned in our analysis and our conversations together, doesn't cover the full spectrum of the process the way that you guys do. They don't know about that stuff. And so they're just like, cool, I'm going to give some documentation here and I'm going to get my funding. Wait a minute. If you know in advance that, look, these things can happen and that's why we exist, to help you navigate the perilous path of commercial lending, to ensure that you get your funding by doing the least amount of work possible, because here's all the awesome stuff that we do along the way, then your market position is dramatically stronger than anybody else in the category, because nobody else is talking about any of the things that give flesh to claims that are made, right? We can go out and we could say, which is all true, right? And you're asking me what I realized when I came down, right? Like the fact that we can go do this confidently because it's all true. This is extremely valuable to me, right? Because at the end of the day, anybody can go out and say, we can help you get funded the fastest, or we are going to give you concierge end-to-end service, or white glove service, right? Or we're going to take care of everything so you don't have to, right? Anybody can make all of those claims. And when we start doing this, what we'll find is that people will probably start making those claims, given the market's state of sophistication. But what they won't do, and what they have not done up to this point, is make those claims appear to be justifiable. When we say that we're going to deliver concierge end-to-end service, well, what we mean is that we're actually going to help you avoid risk A, B, and C along the way of your journey. And we do that through deployment of this particular process, which we've refined over the years, and is supported by the reality that we have worked on the very side of the desk responsible for stamping yes or no on your loan. That insider knowledge has given us the ability to reconstruct the exact itemized process to go and get you the result that you want, and avoid all the painful stuff that can go along the way. Well, now the prospect is thinking, okay, he's not just saying he's going to help me. He's telling me precisely, he's not just saying, he's showing me how he's going to do that without, this was the other side of that iceberg thesis, burying me in all of the technical particulars of exactly how it's going to take place. They don't need to know how Jay set up his 47 tab workbook. They just need to know that it's a pretty magical thing, right? And results
a little bit of black magic.
Yeah, it results in some really cool stuff at the end of it, namely the placement package that helps secure the funding, right? This is the first impression graduated over the last couple of months into, a fully formed idea of who you are, what you do, and how you can help people. And I'm sure anyone listening to this can sense the conviction, right, that is coming out of what I'm saying, because, it's a unique privilege to be able to work with a company that actually does behind the scenes what they say they do on the front of the scenes.
Matt, what do you think about what he's saying? I mean, it's always nice to hear the warm fuzziness from him, but what has it helped you learn as the owner of this company?
It helped me really understand our value proposition better. It helped me understand things that we were not telling our clients that we were doing. It was my old mindset was just get it done. Clients will be happy at the end of the day. Right. When they go to close and everything's happy, they're going to be great. That was the wrong mindset because a lot of people want to know what's going on. And we tell them, here's 100 things that go on in a loan. We do all this. And when we keep you updated and say, hey, here's the obstacle we ran into, we already overcome this, it eases their anxiety and it makes them trust in us and build the credibility back. And that was one thing I think I was missing through the process was through my career was always just get things done, man. We'll just get it done. Don't ask questions. Don't ask why it's behind this magic curtain right here, right? Getting that discussion with James and understanding that better over those few days when we came on site and the insights he gave back to us was valuable back to how we look at our clients, how we look at our business model, how we do those things, and really what's our value add. And those things really resonated with me. Like, hey, we are doing all these things. We're just not telling anybody. And what's the secret? Why are we being secret about it? There's no reason to be secret, right? Let's just tell them what we're doing. Here's everything that's going on. Here's everything we do. Here's what you got to do. Here's the process from A to Z. We're going to walk you all the way through. Besides, before I was the, hey, we're a white glove service. We do everything for you. Don't need to worry about it, right? Give us some information. We'll run with it. But throughout that, I think it also helped us learn more about our processes and how we can continue to improve. I mean, we're always working at improving here with our bloodless autopsies that we do once a month where we do funding closed loss deals and try to see how we can improve. But we never looked at the processes in some of that to improve. And I think James brought a lot more to the table than just, here's a way to get your size up, get your marketing out there, push yourself out there so people can, start doing business with you. No, it's like, hey, here's some other things, you should look at maybe a different CRM. We can make workflows a little easier. What if you did this? Those value adds to me are much more valuable than just, great marketing. How can we do this? Man, what are we really doing? And sometimes, when you're head down, been building a business for 9 years, and sometimes you need somebody to go tap you on the shoulder and go, hey, here's what's really going on right here in your business. Here's what you're doing right. You're just not telling anybody. And so for me, it was uplifting, but also like, oh crap. It was also some moments of reflection of, I probably went on that wrong. I mean, we just stuck our head down and went through it. But we should probably be a little bit more communicative about how we do that with our clients and potential clients. And I think that's opened up definitely our minds and how we process internally over the last couple of months since James was on site. So for us, it's been a overall valuable process in how we view things and how we work internally.
Yeah, I would say for me, it's been great seeing just how much we really do for our clients beyond just getting them a loan. I mean, I have friends and family that still don't fully understand what I do as a commercial loan broker or whatever. And I don't always know exactly how to describe it either, because to me, it makes sense. And I know exactly what it is that I do. But going through this process with James and working on our foundational identity document, working on the whys and the hows that we do what we do a lot that kind of doesn't really fall under just getting a client a loan. I even had a client just this morning tell me I was being a little bit like his therapist, which is something me and Matt joke about often, of being our therapist to our clients. And that's just the relationship that we have with it. And if we don't share that that's what we're doing with our clients, how are we supposed to help other people see that that's the value they could get with working with us? If we tell them it's just getting them a loan, well, yeah, they can get a loan or they can try to do that themselves. But all of the things that go into getting the loan, the advice, the relationship that goes through it, that's where we make our nut of deep relationships, helping people the most.
It's hard sometimes to communicate, even in my position, right, who makes a living doing marketing and advertising, right? Like, it's hard to communicate sometimes the value of what you're doing, right? And specifically so with respect to that, foundational component of this engagement that we've done, right? it's hard to say, okay, guys, you really need to just understand who you are first, right? Okay, well, no shit, right? It's not a very obvious thing. Or like, we're going to take all this information and we're going to put it into this document, and that document is going to authorize everything that comes afterwards, right? That foundational work the value of it isn't understood necessarily inherently to itself until you experience it and its consequences, right? The clarity that you get from it and how it informs commercial activities downstream. It's the reason that I do it, not just so that selfishly I have an understanding of who you are and how we're going to differentiate you from other people, but so that you internally and that anybody else who comes in and works with you, any other vendor, can operate from a shared understanding of how we operate in the world, right? And who we are. When you think about why that's effective, to me, it comes down to the fact that when we're in the business, right? The old adage of working on the business instead of in the business. When we're in the business for so long, we don't really have to come up for air and question what we're doing or compare what we're doing in relation to what other people are doing, or ask, how can we improve this process in this fashion? Because the actual like model for comparison doesn't exist yet. You don't have a reason to do it. You're not thinking to yourself, okay, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to talk about myself. And I'm going to talk about myself in a very specific way that gets other people to take action and choose me in a crowded marketplace over my competitors. Until you start asking yourself that question, none of the other stuff is really going to even surface inside of the mind. Right? You're getting business, you're talking to people, you have referrals, you're doing the work, you're actively refining the work while you're doing the work, but you're never stepping back to look at it all objectively going, wow, compared to this or compared to that, we do this and we do this and we do this, and the client perceives us in this way, and we're able to accomplish this result, and this is actually how we do it, and this is why it's so significant, right? You're not thinking or philosophizing about it because there's no practical need to do it. But now when we rewind the clock and we go, okay, let's start from that point, let's force a deep consideration on who we are, and let that dictate everything that comes next. You see how much easier it is to do all of the other things, how much easier it is to develop a new CRM and migrate things and develop workflows and establish messaging and create ads and film ads and do all of the stuff for the website, right? Everything proceeds naturally and coherently from that shared understanding that you otherwise would never have, right? And that's why, like, when we were talking at the beginning, I said, even though it doesn't feel like it right now or seem like it, because it's hard to quantify, that foundation is going to be the most important thing that takes place. And that's why, too, there's an out after that point, right? Because it will be valuable nonetheless. Whether you go and build any commercial asset on the basis of that foundation, it will be valuable in your dealings with clients, in the way that you reflect on your own business, in the questions that it gives rise to, all of the other ways in which you're thinking about improving the operation. It's like you've had a car sitting in the garage, it's a beautiful car, it's a great garage, or it's a great car, right? You haven't gassed her up in a while. You haven't shined her up a little bit, Now you go into the car, you put some gas into it, you're taking it on the freeway, and you're fucking thinking about the future of the business. And that, more than any asset that I could build, is going to accelerate the growth of AAI over time.
Well said. And I think that's a good kind of thought to wrap this up on. So this is very much about us, but I think that what you were just saying there speaks to a lot of people and a lot of businesses, and whether that's your rental business, your investing business, your plumbing business, whatever your business is, having that good identity of where you're going, where you've been, where you want to go.
One more thought there, because it's important for anyone who's listening, right? Is sometimes it does take somebody other than you, someone other than a team member, to do that work, because you are bringing to the table years and years of experience and prejudices and ideas about what it ought to be, right? And I see this happen in two camps, right? There's the Mac camp, for example, who just does the work and lets the work speak for itself, right? Never talks about it at all. And then there's the other camp that thinks everybody understands exactly what the work is already and never bothers to simplify or translate it for somebody else, right? Think of like 99% of SaaS websites you've ever visited. You're probably like, wait, what do they do? Because whoever is thinking about the business, documenting the identity of the business, is the author of the business and therefore isn't thinking about it from the perspective of the customer. So when we say customer first, generally that's what we mean. Sometimes it needs somebody else to help you translate.
We don't know what the future brings, but we know that we're always continue to improve and make it better. And the reason I say I don't know what a year now from brings, there is too much uncertainty going on in the world to make that strong prediction. What's going on in the global economy, our national economy, even the local economies where you're at. I think there's too many uncertainties, but I do know, I will say the one prediction, AI will be better a year from now than they are today. As we're better a year today than we were a year back, we will continue to make that strides for our clients. So that is the one prediction I will guarantee, is we will continue to be better at the things that we can control for AI. And that is taking care of our clients and doing and implementing the best tools and processes to do so. See you next week, guys.